WCOS Columbia, an iHeartRadio station.
It's time for Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan.
Ready, set. Just call me Swanee.
Tiger style. Tiger style.
Finally, Clemson Sports Talk has come back to Drive Time. Hello, everybody. Lawton Swan back in the saddle once again. It is the show that shakes the Southland. Clemson Sports Talk for you each and every afternoon as you make your way around the great state of South Carolina and beyond, listening to us on fantastic radio stations like Fox Sports Radio 1400 in the Midlands, Sports Radio 100.1 The Fan in Florence, and 920 AM in Manning. Good to be with you here on a Monday afternoon. Your website, ClemsonSportsTalk.com. Great content over there. Try premium for just $1 or step in for a year for $63.17. That's right, I said it, $63.17. Out of the gates here, certainly lots of thoughts going on around the country in terms of college football, and we are joined now by our good buddy Roddy Jones from the ACC Network. Roddy, hope you're doing well, man. How you been?
I've been good. I've been just riding the roller coaster that we've all been on the past 3 weeks or so, really 3 or 4 months. But other than that, I've been good. How about yourself?
Doing well, man. And I tell you, I'm with you on that roller coaster ride because as we get closer and closer to the season, the ups and the downs on the roller coaster seem to be much more extreme, and we really still don't know perhaps what the destination of this roller coaster will be at this point. From the standpoint of the Atlantic Coast Conference, earlier today they announced backing up the ACC kickoff. That wasn't really a great surprise to me. Do you think that has to come down with just the scheduling and what they're still trying to figure out on that front?
Yeah, I absolutely do. Until you have some answers, like what the Big Ten has announced, like what the Pac-12 has announced, until you have those types of answers, the predominant question is going to be, what's the season going to look like? And I think there's a lot of moving pieces for the ACC, more so than even the Big Ten, the Pac-12, or the Big 12, certainly. But I really feel like until you have more answers, the having something like a media day is it's not completely pointless, but it's almost pointless because the questions just aren't going to be satisfied. So just wait until we know what we're going to have. We'll have some sort of media day like they were supposed to do virtually. That'll
Right.
look nothing like it normally does. So ultimately, no, it wasn't a big surprise for me. And I do think it has to do in large part with the scheduling, but also a ton of other stuff like testing and their comments on what's going on generally. I just think they want to let stuff cool down.
On Twitter at Roddy Jones 20 from the ACC Network. Roddy Jones joining us today. And Roddy, I think about now I don't want to call it the nightmare, but maybe it is a nightmare from a scheduling standpoint. And we've seen many different scenarios posed as to how this could all play out. Notre Dame sort of being the fly in the ointment. Some people have said, hey, the ACC should leave these guys out. Other people have said, hey, this is a chance to bring this team into the league. Where are you right now with Notre Dame and what their schedule will potentially look like, featuring a ton of ACC teams this year?
Yeah, well, I think the thing that people need to remember is that Notre Dame is a full-blown ACC member in every sport except for football. So, it's not like Notre Dame is on the sidelines all the time. Notre Dame is in the room when those decisions are being made for every sport except for football. So the working relationship is already there between them and the ACC, and this is not the time to strong-arm Notre Dame, in my opinion. It's not the time to leave them out in the cold, in my opinion. This is the most vulnerable time for any college athletics program, particularly a football program, has been in since World War II, because you just don't know what the season's going to look like. You don't know scheduling. So in my opinion, the ACC should do everything it can to help out Notre Dame as much as it can. Notre Dame has been a great partner in every other sport, brought a ton to the table in every other sport. And so there is a measure of, hey, you guys have been awesome. You're a part of the family. Let's figure it out. So I think the one of the reasons the ACC has not yet announced what the schedule is going to be is because Notre Dame doesn't quite have it figured out. They've had the Pac-12 teams drop off. They've had Wisconsin drop off, which leaves them with 9 games, Western Michigan being one, Arkansas being one, and Navy being one. And they largely will control the Western Michigan and the Navy games because those are group of 5 teams. And then Arkansas will kind of be controlled by the SEC. So I would anticipate Notre Dame's having those conversations right now with the SEC. They may go ahead and play Navy because they're because of the tradition there.
Right.
But the ACC is going to fill out the rest of Notre Dame's schedule. I don't really have any doubts about that.
Is there any chance, Roddy, that Notre Dame? I've seen some people on one of our sister sites talking about, could this be the year where Notre Dame sort of tests the water of what it means to be in the conference, and maybe even could they be eligible for the ACC championship if they played enough conference games this year, and if the league decided to go in a unique scheduling route that maybe would allow that?
Well, that is interesting. So I think to do that, you would have to scrap the divisions because what side do you put Notre Dame in? They'd kind of just be this weird floater.
Right.
But, I mean, Notre Dame's already got 6 ACC schools on the schedule. Usually it's 5, but because of an agreement years ago where they had 4, they have 6 this year. So with those 6, think about the ones that I just mentioned that are still on the schedule: Western Michigan, Arkansas, and Navy. That gives them 9 games. If one of those teams drops off, let's say Western Michigan, the ACC only has to give them 2 more games. And if you've got Notre Dame playing 8 ACC games like everybody else, you scrap the divisions, just let it play out as it is, and you have the 2 best teams play. Honestly, that's probably the best thing for the league in terms of viewership and interest. Because think about the fact that you may get a Clemson Notre Dame game during the regular season,
Right.
and then potentially a rematch in the championship game. That championship game, particularly if each team is either undefeated or 1 loss, that championship game would be huge in terms of the national implications and would have a ton of eyeballs on it. So for the league, I don't think the league would be completely against it just because it would be really good for viewership. But if the hesitation is there, like, I don't blame them, but because Notre Dame's not a full-fledged member. And can you imagine like Notre Dame jumping in for a year, winning the ACC, and then jumping back out? That would feel a little weird.
On Twitter, he's at Roddy Jones 20. Roddy Jones from the ACC Network, chatting it up with us about some of the uncertainties in college football. And I know that the athletic director at Miami has already said that they would be open because their matchup fell off with Michigan State. Notre Dame has their opening now because their matchup at Lambeau Field, Wisconsin, fell off, that they would be interested in potentially connecting with the Fighting Irish. I've got to say, in the midst of a pandemic that's changing the landscape of college football, from Notre Dame's standpoint, Roddy, they might not have been in a better situation in terms of what they've got set up with the ACC now versus what they used to have, which would have been a hodgepodge schedule that would have been very difficult to navigate as you head into August.
Yeah. Can you imagine if this had happened before that agreement with the ACC? I mean, it had been Notre Dame playing BYU and Army and Liberty and New Mexico State over and over and over, like just the independents all playing each other because every conference would kind of shut them out.
Right.
So it is fortunate for Notre Dame to have done that with the ACC. And like I said, like Notre Dame has gotten a ton of benefit out of being a part of the ACC, and the ACC has gotten benefit in having Notre Dame. So that's a great point, because for much of Notre Dame's history, they would have just been left out. And can you imagine Notre Dame just kind of floating in the wind during a pandemic with nobody to play? Like that would have been absolutely insane.
The other thing that's been put out there from some people, Roddy, to minimize travel, minimize the exposure of these players to COVID-19 potentially, is some sort of home and home schedule where maybe you play against 5 teams from the league twice. Would you be interested in seeing anything like that produced from the Atlantic Coast Conference?
Me personally, no, I would not. because you're still going to have teams that are left out. Yeah, like you look at a Syracuse and like a Boston College, like those teams are on the extreme end of the conference up north. And yes, you can limit their travel, but they're still going to have to travel further than everybody to get to people. I mean, Miami on the other end, Miami's probably further from their nearest opponent than anybody. So the travel is still a part of it. So I would not personally want to see that. The interesting one that's been floated around that I've seen is an agreement potentially with the SEC to limit some of that travel so that you keep the in-state rivalries, because it doesn't make sense if you're worried about travel to get rid of the closest opponent. Like Georgia Tech's closest opponent on its schedule every year is the University of Georgia. It doesn't make sense to get rid of that game when they've got a game at Syracuse. So in that scenario, it's interesting how it's been floated to try and do some of that, because the SEC and the ACC are already playing 7 games against each other this year, including those 4 in-state rivalries. So can you figure out some way for the other 7 teams to play each other, and then you kind of keep it in the conference? You don't necessarily have to expand the number of conference games. You can stick with that 8. Geographically, it generally works out. There's some exceptions, like Syracuse probably ends up having to go to Missouri, which is not a short trip, but or Boston College, like Texas A&M or something like that. But it does create some sort of geographical similarities if those 2 conferences hook up and do that. But I don't know, man. Like, that's the thing. I don't even know what the criteria with which they are trying to make these decisions are. So it's hard to come up with what ultimately they're going to end up with.
Roddy Jones from the ACC Network. You know him from his days playing football with the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. That was the scheduled opener for the Clemson Tigers this year, September 3rd, on that new field that they put in, the artificial turf there at Grant Field. And Roddy, right now, with things as up in the air as they are, do you expect? I mean, we've kind of brokered this interview so far, like we're going to be playing football this fall. As a former player, do you think we're going to be on the gridiron this fall, or is it going to be bumped back?
Oh man, this is the hardest question, because so much of it is out of the control of college football. Like, that's the thing that we have to realize, is so much of this is based on what happens in these individual states, what happens with individual people and the decisions that they make. So this is the hardest one to answer. I feel like we will have some sort of football this fall. I don't think personally that it's going to start on time, and I don't necessarily feel comfortable with thinking that it's going to be a 10-game schedule. Like, I think that's a little ambitious. It gives every conference, if they decide to go there, a little bit of wiggle room.
Right.
Because if you have 10 games and you can slide it back already to like mid-September, and then you can slowly cut games. You can go, hey, we're going to play 10 conference games or 8 conference games plus 2. Now we're going to eliminate 2 of them. We'll just play 8, and every conference can sort of do that. And then you can go division only. Like, you can slowly do that. I think if it gets too far down the line, it will bump to the spring, which creates a whole new set of issues. That's why I feel like they're going to try and get some sort of football in this fall. But so much of it depends on what happens in our country. And right now, for the past few weeks, the news has not been great.
We compared it to a roller coaster earlier, but perhaps a Rubik's Cube would be more accurate.
Yeah, maybe.
Roddy, from the standpoint of, I guess, the player and being a former player, the conversations are going to start to happen at some point if they're not already out there. I've certainly brought it up that guys like Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, maybe other big name players in the league and across the country might say, yeah, you know what? I don't think I'm going to play this year because I've got more to lose than I do to gain, if I can do my best to avoid being infected with COVID-19. Do you expect that we could see players, much like we've seen in the professional league, say, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. I really don't need to be, run out there. And again, these guys aren't paid to play the game either. That's the other thing. They're not professionals.
I absolutely expect that we're going to see some of it. Absolutely. There's some surefire guys that are the obvious ones. Trevor Lawrence being one, Justin Fields being one. And I'm not saying every single one of these guys is going to do that. But I think you will get some to say, look at a guy like Jamar Chase, who just saw Justin Jefferson leave, Joe Burrow leave. They've got to replace a ton on the offensive line. There's questions on how good they're going to be. He's a Biletnikoff Award winner. He's going to be a first-round pick. Like, he's probably not going to put up the numbers that he did last year. What's the incentive in coming back? I mean, coming back was already going to be something where he was probably looking at it as a gap year just to try and get to the league. But now that you have all this other stuff, why would you do it? So Trevor Lawrence is another one, Justin Fields. The ETN one is a good question because he actually came back, as you know, to try and improve his draft stock. So,
right.
So I would guess a guy like that wants to play. But there's going to be a ton of guys throughout the country. Penei Sewell, the offensive tackle at Oregon, who people are saying is the best tackle prospect, since Orlando Pace. Like, why does that guy need to play a season in which there's so many questions? I don't know. I think it really comes into play in the spring. Like, if this thing gets moved back to the spring, I don't see how there's any way those guys can play because they'll be asked to play a college season, go through the NFL draft, and then turn around and start preparing for an NFL season. I don't know why you would do that, especially if you're a surefire first-round pick. It just doesn't make sense. So the longer this thing goes, I think the more likely that you'll see some of those guys drop out, which is a shame because I was really looking forward to seeing all of these guys play.
The familiar voice of Roddy Jones here on the show that shakes the Southland, Clemson Sports Talk, hanging out with us, and hopefully we can do this more often. Of course, he works with the ACC network. And, Roddy, I know that it has been a unique time from the standpoint of not just the league, but the network and television, et cetera. Fans are just so anxious to finally be able to turn on a college sports game at all. I even made the recommendation, would we be crazy in this current environment to play college baseball in the fall? Because I think baseball of all the sports is the one most likely to have the limited amount of contact necessary to maybe pull off a season. And you've got to imagine that the eyeballs of college football fans would be locked in on college baseball if you just had it out there. Would that be absurd to do something like that?
I don't think anything's off the table, to be completely honest with you. I think look, if you're ESPN or Fox or any of these TV companies, you should be preparing for, all right, colleges. I know football's off the table, but what else can we put in the fall that will be safe enough to do? Baseball is a great suggestion. I don't know how interested the NCAA would be in moving those sports. I think those conversations have to be had. And honestly, every baseball team goes through like a sort of fall practice, like a spring for football, but they go through the fall and do their scrimmages and stuff. And sometimes they scrimmage other schools. I can see those being put on TV now because what else are you going to watch, especially if there's no football or no football games. So we'll see. Look, I really don't think anything is off the table. Esports could end up being what the ACC network shows constantly. I don't even know if there's any ACC schools that have esports, but hey, I'll call it if they want me to.
Listen, if Clemson's Fortnite squad is taking on Texas A&M's Fortnite squad, I'll watch it.
Let's go. Strap it on. You gotta root for something with your school. So yeah, it's just such a crazy time. You and I were talking about it earlier. It's just such a crazy time. I don't think anything's off the table.
Roddy, listen, man, I'm glad that you are doing well. Looking forward to catching up with you again. I won't be able to see you at the ACC kickoff, but nonetheless, stay safe, stay healthy, and looking forward to catching up with you more throughout the year.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you having me on. You stay safe too.
Roddy Jones here on the show that shakes the Southland. We'll hit a quick break. I'll tell you what, we'll think about some of those things that Roddy had to say there and dive into some other thoughts that I've got on the topic at hand. I mean, listen, we are living in an uncertain time. We are definitely without all of the answers to the ever-changing questions. But one thing continues to stay at the top of the mind's eye of Tiger fans and college football fans, and that is, what will it look like? How will it happen? Will it happen? And we'll continue to investigate those things along the way. 803-450-0086, 803-450-0086. Again, we mentioned at the Atlantic Coast Conference earlier today announcing that they will not hold their ACC kickoff next week as expected. We'll talk about that when we get back. Stay with us.
$1,000. Text the nationwide keyword BANK to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's BANK to 200-200.
Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed.
Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
Good afternoon. As we kick off your Monday with Columbia's most dependable traffic, we got a situation with debris in the roadway, I-20 eastbound at mile marker 74. Otherwise, not too bad for the drive home. From the 103.5 FM WVOC Traffic Center, I'm Gary Mills.
This report is sponsored by Stand Up to Cancer.
I'm Tony Goldwyn. 20 years ago, when my mom had lung cancer, she didn't have many choices. But today, you do. If you've been diagnosed with lung cancer, please visit standuptocancer.org/lungcancer to learn more.
When you get in your car, you need the best directions to get where you want to be.
Will arrive at your retirement in 8
The
years.
same is true for your retirement. You need a voice to guide you along the way. Join Pat Struby for Save Your Retirement with Pat Struby. Pat's 18 years of experience can help make your retirement journey feel like a drive down easy street.
Arriving at your retirement.
Saturdays, 6 a.m. on Fox Sports Radio, and Saturdays at noon and Sundays at 9 on 560 WVOC for Save Your Retirement with Pat Struby.
Orangutans. They're beautiful, playful, and majestic, and disappearing. Every day, as many as 20 orangutans vanish. They starve to death when their homes are destroyed, or are killed when they stray into villages in search of food. International Animal Rescue is fighting for the survival of the critically endangered orangutan, but we can't do it without you. Please visit internationalanimalrescue.org and help us save orangutans before it's too late. That's internationalanimalrescue.org.
Hi, I'm Alicia Kaufman Quinton. My daddy, Billy Kaufman, opened Kaufman's Meat Plant at our present location in 1955. My family still works hard every day to ensure fresh quality cuts of beef, pork, and poultry. How about a tasty T-bone, ribeye, or New York strip steak? But to order at Kaufman's Meat and Place, just look for the signs near the intersection of US 1 and I-20 in Lexington. Call us at 356-0076 to place your order. Kaufman's Meat and Place, when you want the very best your money can buy.
Uncle Dan?
Mom? Dad?
If you store your guns properly, so not just anyone can get to them.
I'll feel safer when I'm playing outside. Safer when walking home.
Safer when my friends come over. As your neighbor, I'll feel safer.
As a school teacher, I'll feel safer.
We'll all feel safer.
Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. If you own a gun, you have a full-time responsibility. When you aren't using it, be sure it can't get into the hands of curious children, troubled teenagers, a thief, or anyone else who might misuse it. Remember, always, lock it up. For more information on firearm storage safety, visit ncpc.org. This message brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and the Ad Council.
I can't believe he found them.
He seems sorry.
We very clearly told him not to look up there.
I'm honestly impressed that he was able to do it.
Right? What did he balance on that big chair? Or...
Yeah, I mean, I guess he'll just know what his gifts are this year.
I really thought we had hidden them well.
If they can find their presents, they can find a gun.
911, what is your emergency?
Every day, 8 kids and teens are unintentionally killed or injured by loaded and unlocked guns. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and End Family Fire.
You're listening to Clemson Sports Talk with my dad, Lawton Swan, on Fox Sports Radio 1400 and on the iHeartRadio app.
It is the show that shakes the Southland, Clemson Sports Talk on a Monday afternoon. Good to be back with you. Hope you had a great weekend. Appreciate Roddy Jones coming up out of the gates with us there, rocking and rolling. You know, I debated getting him on a little later in the program. We got William Qualkenbush coming up in hour number 2. So to be able to chatted up a little bit with Roddy was really fun and really good, and I hope you enjoyed that. Again, here's how you could participate: 803-450-0086, 803-450-0086. That's a text line. That's a phone line. If you're watching, pay no attention to the phone. I know you're saying, why haven't you changed it, Swan? You've been doing your show from home for months. I don't know. It's just easier to tell you guys because I'm sure at some point we'll be utilizing that phone line. Nonetheless, lots to think about, I think, on the college football front. And again, kind of had a hunch that the ACC's virtual kickoff would be postponed or pushed back simply because of the fact that, as Roddy mentioned, it's hard. Like if you're going to talk to these coaches, the questions typically are, all in some sort of lockstep with, well, what do you think it's going to be like when you play Team X? What do you think it's going to be like Team Y? What do they present? This, that, and the other. And from the standpoint of what we're dealing with now, you just don't know that. And you don't know if these teams are going to actually play each other. You don't know what the schedules are going to look like. I mean, there's all types of schedules that are out there. We've got an article up right now on our website, ClemsonSportsTalk.com. For our premium subscribers, we'd love to have you come join us. Scheduling nightmare. What will the ACC choose to do? And, there's a lot of people that would be, I think, angry, and probably rightfully so, if somehow Notre Dame got an opportunity to play in the Atlantic Coast Conference this year and have a chance to play for the ACC championship. Now, I know that there will be people that will say, why would the Atlantic Coast Conference do that? There will be other people that will say, why would Notre Dame do that? But, some of our buddies over at Irish Sports Daily, that was one of the comments that they sort of made about this was, hey, you know what? This is an opportunity in a unique year for Notre Dame to test the water of what it might be like to be in a conference. And that, again, came straight from Irish Sports Daily.
Oh, God, no. I get my news from the internet like every other normal person under 70.
And that was on the internet. And again, it was not an official release. It was a thought about it. But, just kind of thinking through that for a few minutes, there's some valid points to it. Like Clemson and Ohio State and Alabama and other programs have this one thing over Notre Dame that the Fighting Irish do not. A lot of teams can say, well, even if you don't win the national title, we were our conference champions. Notre Dame can't say that. No matter how good they are, no matter how good they play, they're not hanging up conference titles. And whether you like it or not, a conference championship is something that high school kids want to win. I mean, at Notre Dame, if you are a student athlete playing football, what do you have to win outside of a national championship? Do you have anything of substance to win outside of a national championship? I would argue no, that you don't. At Notre Dame, as a college football player, you either win the national title or you don't. That you might have some great victories. You might play some great venues. You might play against some top teams. But you do not win anything if you don't win a national championship. And that is a problem for the Fighting Irish when it comes to recruiting. Because those other schools can say to those kids, hey, come here, you can win a conference title. So maybe in this odd year, maybe the Atlantic Coast Conference works something out where Notre Dame ends up being a quote league member and has a chance to play for a conference championship to bolster perhaps the resumes. I would argue in Clemson's scenario, and you could go read our article right now about scheduling nightmare over on our website. Clemson's non-conference matchups this year, especially the Power 5 matchups, Notre Dame and South Carolina. I mean, the Gamecocks aren't expected to be world beaters this year, not expected to be they won't bolster Clemson's resume. You wouldn't believe that at this point. And so I was asked on my buddy Jamie Bradford's show, JB and Goldwater, earlier today about that fact alone. And, the truth is, if Clemson were to play a 10-game schedule in any scenario where Notre Dame's on there twice, if they did do this home-and-home idea that's been thrown around, that would be, a 10-game schedule that would be better, perhaps, than Clemson's current 12-game slate. And I don't think anybody believes that the Atlantic Coast Conference is going to be playing their full slate of games at this point. So, to be honest with you, I think what we are witnessing and what we are walking into is not just unprecedented uncertainty, but I think we are walking into an unprecedented amount of willingness from the parties involved in the Atlantic Coast Conference and Notre Dame to work together cohesively during football season to increase eyeballs, to increase revenue, to increase interest, and to bring the fans bigger and potentially better games. 803-450-0086. That's our number. You can also text us there and tell us that you completely disagree with us. You can do that, or that you do agree with us one way or the other. One Clemson Tiger named to a preseason watch list kicking off the summer. We'll tell you about it right after this.
A grand in your hand.
That would help out a ton.
Winner.
Amazing.
After winner.
This will be very helpful.
After winner.
Definitely keep me going until I hopefully go back to work soon.
You could be next.
This helps a lot.
Your chance to win $1,000 is coming up.
Listen for your cue to text on Fox Sports Radio 1400.
At Stanley Martin Homes, your life is our blueprint. For over 53 years, Stanley Martin has been building homes to fit your lifestyle. Visit any of our local models for a self-guided tour or schedule a personal appointment with one of our neighborhood sales managers. Summertime is the best time for moving into your new Stanley Martin home. And now you can design your house with a click of a mouse online at stanleymartin.com. An equal housing opportunity.
If you owe any money to the IRS, you need to call this toll-free number right now. 800-379-6450. That's 800-379-6450. Uncle Sam has the power to take everything you own. You could stop the collection process right now by calling 800-379-6450. When you call the tax support group, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate your back taxes, including penalties and interest. You could also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you have entered into a payment plan and can't make the payments. Stop Uncle Sam right now. This free call could help you today. 800-379-6450. That's 800-379-6450. 800-379-6450. 1-800-379-6450.
Live from the $1,500 instant rebate AAA Heating and Air Weather Center.
Clear and warm tonight with lows in the mid-70s. Tomorrow, sunny and hot. Highs at least mid-90s. For Channel 25 ABC Columbia, I'm Chief Meteorologist John Farley.
This report is sponsored by Positive Coaching Alliance.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
It only takes a minute to find out if you may have prediabetes, and you can do it at doihaveprediabetes.org. But you're probably not going to. Nope. I'm sure you've got a perfectly good excuse. Kids, work. I get it. you're busy. So what better time than now? Let's begin. Raise one finger if you're a man. Ladies, none yet. Oh, count in your head if you're driving. Now, 3 more fingers for everyone over 60, 2 over 50, 1 over 40, 1 more if you're not physically active, another finger if anyone in your family has type 2 diabetes, another if you've got high blood pressure. If you're overweight, raise another finger, 2 if you're very overweight, and 3 if you're really overweight. You've just taken the world's first audio pre-diabetes test. And if you're holding up 5 or more fingers, visit doihaveprediabetes.org or talk to your doctor. There's no excuse because prediabetes can be reversed.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its pre-diabetes awareness partners. The American Red Cross urgently needs blood and platelet donations and asks donors to schedule an appointment to give now. Every 2 seconds, someone in the United States needs blood. Your blood donation is critical and can help save lives. Please, schedule an appointment today. Download the Blood Donor app, visit redcrossblood.org, or call 1-800-RED-CROSS today. You can make a difference.
Broadcasting from the TrueCar.com studios, this is Columbia's Fox Sports Radio, 1400.
The show that shakes the Southland, Clemson Sports Talk on a Monday. William Qualkenbush coming up in just a little bit. Thank you to Roddy Jones for joining us earlier as well. Don't get Roddy on enough and really need to do our best to make him a bigger part of this program. I mean, he's such a great mind when it comes to the Atlantic Coast Conference and his role playing at Georgia Tech back in the day and now with the ACC network, with SiriusXM. You're just a guy who's really done well and knows the game and can give you a lot of insight. So we'll work with him to get him on the program. I mentioned that some of the National Player preseason awards are coming out. It's weird because this time of year always starts to build me up towards feeling like college football's on the return, and I kind of am feeling that way, and I'm kind of not this year, which is unique. But Clemson linebacker James Skalski was named to the Bednarik watch list earlier today. The Maxwell Football Club announced the watch list for the 26th annual presentation of the Bednarik Award, which goes to the most outstanding defensive player in college football. So pretty, a really great honor, I think, for a guy like James Skalski, who I would have a hunch that outside of the Clemson market, there are a lot of people who that's not going to be a name that they're going to focus on and talk about a whole lot when it comes to Clemson's defense off the cuff, but a tremendous leader for this Clemson Tiger football team, and a young man that's given so much to the program to now have this honor put on him with the opportunity, at least having that honor put on him is certainly a big deal. So the semifinalists for the Bednarik Award will be announced on November the 3rd, and the 3 finalists will be unveiled on November the 23rd, and then the winner of the Bednarik will be announced at ESPN's College Football Awards show in December, assuming everything sort of plays out that way. The Bednarik Award watch list will once again incorporate a broad spectrum of football bowl subdivision programs and conferences from coast to coast. Last season's winner, of course, was Chase Young, the defensive end from Ohio State. The finalists for that award a year ago were Derek Brown from Auburn and Isaiah Simmons, the versatile safety hybrid from Clemson. So again, congratulations are in order for James Skalski to be able to just have his name mentioned among some of the great football players in America coming into this season. And again, a young man who undervalued, but from the standpoint of preparation, it really reminds you a lot of maybe a Ben Boulware, just a guy that's going to know what's happening. His awareness is off the charts. He's perhaps not the most athletic kid you're going to run into, but he's got a heck of a motor and a determination that you just can't he's got a determination that a lot of kids just aren't born with and don't have, and a desire to play. And whether that comes from maybe being somebody who, and again, this would be speculation on my part, but somebody who felt like they maybe were undervalued, and so just constantly churning inside that self-driven motivation, all of the things that push some individuals to go from being an unheralded recruit into a leader on a football team, I think is a big part of what you see from a guy like James Skalski. And I really was, I don't want to say I was surprised today to see his name on this list, but it felt good today to see his name on the list, because I think he is a guy that a lot of people are going to forget about. And he's a guy that has a chance to have a really good season here for the Clemson Tigers, kind of being the anchor and the leader of that defense. I think Brent Venables absolutely loves what Skalski brings to the table for this team. You saw in the national championship game when he went out, look, and this is no offense to Jake Venables. This is more of sort of taking an honest look at Skalski, and you recognize just how valuable Skalski was to that team. Even though Venables wasn't fantastic defensively in Skalski's absence, you still know what Skalski brings to the table. So again, James Skalski announced as the one of the preseason Bednarik Award watch list winners. And again, this is a guy that may have been representing Clemson from the defensive side of the ball coming up next week in Charlotte, as we were expected to have the ACC kickoff running July 21st through the 23rd. And then that got back down to being a virtual ACC kickoff, and certainly Skalski would have been an expected speaker perhaps from the defensive side of the ball there for the Tigers as well. Instead, now we know that event has been postponed. Still, everything completely up in the air. The Tigers did, however, get back after it to a degree on campus today, as they are allowed to have 8 hours a week right now of practice with some film study if they choose to do that. I think the film study is limited to 2 hours if they choose to do that. And then that will expand a little bit further down the line as the calendar turns. I think about 11 days or so from now, they will be able to expand to 20 hours a week or so for practice. And, while things are trying to get back to normal, and the COVID-19 numbers that we saw at Clemson on Friday weren't necessarily overly negative by any means, and didn't raise a lot of eyebrows when you saw the numbers of just 6 people who tested positive. And again, we don't know what sports. We have not been given that information yet. A couple of those were staff members. But I think that if you want to believe that you're going to get to see college football this fall, things like what's going on now at Clemson and other schools as they begin to get back after it with going from voluntary workouts to mandatory workouts, these numbers have to stay low on these campuses in order for, I think, anybody to buy into and believe that you're going to be able to see college football on campus in 2020. I mean, it's got to go well now. These are the days to really keep your eyes tuned in to what's going on around the world of college football, because if you start to see people have to stop these practices, it's really going to be tough, even tougher than it has been to imagine a college football campaign playing out like we'd all hope. 803-450-0086. We'll hit a quick break. We come back with more of the show that shakes the Southland.
Group training is a fun, accountable way to get in shape. I'm Coach Stewart of Dynamic Health and Fitness. Come train with one of our special groups today. We will focus on giving you the support you need to get in shape. We use the Dynamic Mob, featuring intervals of cardio, functional training, and strength training to change your lifestyle to make you healthy. Get started today at any of our locations in Lexington or West Columbia, or call 803-408-4060 or online at dynamichealthclub.com.
Hi, this is Kevin Hunter with Simplified Office Systems. We're here to help you with your home office. Whether you need a large multifunction device or something simple to sit on your desk, we can help with that. We offer products and strategies from HP. We also, with every product, give you remote support, troubleshooting, setup support, whatever you need, we are here to help. We can even put a Clemson logo on that new copy. Contact us by visiting mysimplifiedoffice.com or call us at 888-914-7476. Stay safe, stay strong.
Tiger fans, look no further than the Tiger Sports Shop in Clemson for all your game day needs. Since 1974, they've brought you everything Clemson for the Clemson fan. With quality brands such as Nike, Antigua, Cutter & Buck, and Champion, plus many more, from hats to t-shirts to tailgate, the Tiger Sports Shop has all the Clemson gear a true Tiger fan needs. With 2 convenient game day locations in Tigertown, shop where I shop at Dr. I.M. Ibrahim's Tiger Sports Shop. They fuel the passion of Tiger fans everywhere. Check them out online, tigersports.com.
And now a game of Commercial Chicken, brought to you by Progressive, where we see how long Flo can go without talking about insurance. Ready? Go.
So the weather is just all over the place lately, right? One day it's hot, and the next day it's windy for a while. It's like, make up your mind already. Drivers who switch to Progressive can save big.
Okay, you win. We can't help but save customers money. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
O'Reilly Auto Parts has everything you need for summer car maintenance, and our professional parts people can help you find the best oil change supplies for your car. Get 5 quarts of Valvoline Max Life motor oil and a MicroGuard filter for $28.99, plus a $7 gift card after mail-in rebate. For your summer oil change, stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Dad, this is fun. I didn't think I liked kayaking.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, but I think it's time to head back in.
Okay. Can we come back?
Sure.
Tomorrow?
Let's check with Mom. Hey, be careful getting out of the boat.
It's a kayak, Dad.
I'm gonna return the kayak. Just make sure you have everything.
Yep. Can we walk home?
How about a taxi? 233 North Maple, please.
It's a short fare from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a neighborhood park or green space near you. Also, find fun activities to do like boating and biking or camping and hiking, plus much more. It's all right in your naturehood.
Best day ever.
A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
Families affected by disasters urgently need support. Help the American Red Cross provide meals and shelter to those affected by disasters, big and small. Donate to Red Cross Disaster Relief. Go to redcross.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS.
Fox Sports Radio 1400. Online at foxsportsradio1400.com. On your phone with the iHeartRadio app and on hundreds of devices like Alexa, Google Home, Xbox, and Sonos. An iHeartRadio station.
A little booyah to ya here on the show that shakes the Southland, Clemson Sports Talk. Lawton Swan with you on a Monday afternoon. William Qualkenbush set to join the program coming up in just a little bit. If you want to participate, you can text us 803-450-0086. You can actually call that number 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you are a podcast listener and you think, man, I just want to participate, Swanee's all over it, or maybe perhaps I've made you angry.
I'll knock your brains out of your head, Annie.
Yeah, right. Then you can come on and tell us what you think, and we'll play your audio on the air. Again, we've talked a good bit about college football and what it could look like in 2020, and from that standpoint, there is the other aspect of these college athletes who are international players, and this would affect all sports really that have players from other countries. But I don't know if you've been following this at all, but one of the one of the, and I'm going to try to do my best to explain it as best I can without being somebody that really keeps up with visas and things of that nature, but one of the outcomes of COVID-19 for international students is the possibility that if they don't take in-person classes this fall, they would have to leave the country or transfer to another school that does offer in-person classes this country. Why this is a big deal, and for so many sports, not necessarily football, but if you start thinking about men's soccer and other sports where there might be a heavier influence of foreign players playing the game, if they are forced out of the country, they're obviously not playing. Now, on the Clemson football team, Ajo, the wide receiver from British Columbia, Canada, would be, if he is an international student, and I'm trying to verify that as we speak, if he is an international student, if he's not an American citizen today, which I don't believe he is, based on his timeline of transferring down to the United States and playing high school football and then getting his opportunity in Tigertown. If this stands and Clemson doesn't have on-campus classes this fall, a kid like that would not be able to stay in America. A kid like that would have to leave the country because of, I think it's a F1 visa. Is what I think this is called. I'm certainly no international visa expert, but for that policy to be in place during these unprecedented circumstances, to me, is a bad move. I don't understand the logic or the thought process behind it, quite frankly. And if a kid is here in America going to college and they're doing it virtually because of a pandemic, for me, I don't see a reason that they should have to leave. But the administration, the current administration, has made this maneuver. And with that being announced, these college athletes in so many sports across the country are in flux. And they don't know what's going to happen. And you don't know what's going to happen. And from that standpoint, it is almost, in a way, it feels like they are forcing colleges to try to have on-campus classes because they know the effects that this has on so many students and so many athletes. And I just feel like in the midst of a pandemic, there should be more leniency for cases like this than harsh lines drawn. If anything, it's amazing that this is something that not just Clemson University, but other schools are potentially going to have to deal with. And it's it also feels like a moving target because these kids, I guess, don't technically have to leave until the official announcements are made on what these college campuses are going to look like. And hearing that a guy like Ajo and potentially other athletes at Clemson may have to leave could make you angry.
Are you nuts?
I mean, I don't want to see these guys have to go home either. I don't want to see these guys have to go home. But that may just be what we're looking at. And one of, a player in the Ajo who I was really looking forward to seeing, if he is indeed an international student with a F1 visa, then there's a chance that he's going to have to go home. and will not be able to play. Well, at least he may have to leave Clemson and go play football somewhere else where they're playing on campus. I don't know that yet, but I'm certainly doing my best to investigate and find out what the status would be, and if there are any other players. Certainly, there are other players on other sports that would be affected by this at Clemson, but are there other players in that football locker room that could be affected by this, and how their status may change what that Clemson roster looks like in 2020. 803-450-0086, 803-450-0086. You can text us. You can call that number as well. Our good buddy William Qualkenbush set to join the show here coming up in just a few minutes on a Monday afternoon. A beautiful Monday in the Midlands of South Carolina. I hope the weather is great where you are and when you are. Again, William Qualkenbush on Twitter at QualkTalk joins the program. We'll talk with him about the ACC scheduling conflicts, international students, etc. right after this. Stay with us here on the show that shakes the Southland.
Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan on Columbia's home for sports, Fox Sports Radio 1400. Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
Couple of new accidents in, both on Clemson Road at Brook Hollow Drive, and Clemson Road at Hardscrabble Road. From the 103.5 FM WVOC Traffic Center, I'm Gary Mills.
This report is sponsored by the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
For 28 years, the professional staff of the Hobbs Group and Hobbs Group Advisors has been dedicated to helping others achieve their financial goals by delivering quality, objective financial and accounting solutions to a diverse client base of individuals and businesses all over South Carolina. We offer tax and audit services, bookkeeping, payroll, litigation support, employee benefits, personal financial planning, investment management, and insurance services. Please call us at 803-799-0555 or visit our website, hobbscpa.com, to learn more about our people and services.
When a community grows, its hospital should grow too. And that's just what we're doing at Lexington Medical Center. We recently launched the largest hospital expansion project in South Carolina history. Our new 10-story patient tower will help us take better care of patients, including the tiniest infants who need special attention. It will also make room for the growing number of patients who need surgery and intensive care. At Lexington Medical Center, our mission to serve our community never wavers. We're here when you need us today, and we'll be there when you need us tomorrow.
Type 2 diabetes is a serious chronic health threat in America. It affects tens of millions of people. Many people who have the disease don't know it. Diabetes can cause health problems such as heart disease, strokes, amputations, and blindness. Talk to your doctor, get screened if you're at risk, and learn how to avoid becoming one of the millions of new cases of diabetes each year. You can help prevent type 2 diabetes. A message from CDC and HHS.
There are many sounds in your day-to-day life. There are sounds that wake you up. Sounds that make you smile. Sounds that energize you. And sounds that help you relax. But there are some sounds that can alert you to danger and can help save lives. Wireless emergency alerts, now on many mobile devices, use a unique sound and vibration to bring you information about severe weather events, Amber Alerts, or other emergencies in your area. With critical information from local sources you know and trust, you can be in the know, wherever you are. For more information, visit ready.gov/alerts. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Our military is in the most dangerous places around the world. They step up. And when they are severely ill or injured, returning to their families is only the beginning of their long road home. Beyond all the hospitals and doctors and surgeries they need just to survive, they also deserve whatever they need to truly live. All the in-home care and day-to-day help they need to live independently, on their own terms. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs were established to provide these brave men and women whatever they need to continue their fight for independence at no cost for life. So many of them need us, and it's time for a grateful nation to step up. Find out how you can do your part at findwwp.org.
Fox Sports Radio 1400, WCOS Columbia, an iHeart radio station.
It's time for Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan.
Ready, set. Just call me Swanee.
Tiger style. Tiger style.
Hour number 2. That's Drive Time right here on the show that shakes the Southland. Clemson Sports Talk. Lawton Swan hanging out with you, getting set to get our good buddy William Qualkenbush on the guest line on a Monday, as he joins us every Monday and looking to solidify our college football lineup. Should be interesting to see what that looks like as well over the next few months as we get all of this stuff squared away and get you headed in the right direction, at least towards a college football season. So William Qualkenbush joins us here momentarily. 803-450-0086. Qualk, my man, what is going on? How you been, brother?
Swanee, it's been great. Hope you had a nice time off and you've been refreshed and renewed in your spirit and soul.
Yeah, I feel refreshed and renewed. I'm worn out. I got so many scenarios in my head. I told Roddy Jones earlier, and I was on a radio show earlier. I called this offseason a roller coaster, but it's really just more like a Rubik's Cube, man.
You know what? I like that. I like Rubik's Cube. That is really it. And I'm sure that the athletic directors and presidents and commissioners would love to have some 15-year-old whiz kid trying to tell them how to do it all. That'd be great. Because, the rest of us are going to struggle, and everybody's going to struggle except a few people know how to do it, and they can do it in 30 seconds.
Look, you're all over it. And from that standpoint, Qualk, I'll ask you, the Atlantic Coast Conference today earlier announced that they're backing up the virtual Atlantic Coast Conference kickoff. What was your initial response to that, and what do you think that means more than anything?
My initial response was okay. I kind of felt like that was what it was going to feel like anyway. And to be honest, as somebody who's been there, 7 or 8 times, I have felt like it was probably only a matter of time before it went away anyway. You know this, you've been there. It feels like more and more access is being given to the 4-letter network and the ACC, national outlets, the ACC media folks generally, Mark Packer's show, Packer and Durham, like they get everybody. And that's just the way that's the way it rolls. And the ACC's producing their own content, so a lot of the time it's for that. And then the scraps go to Radio Row. Like when I started, you could get half the coaches and you could get a representative from everybody in your division. Now you can't be guaranteed that, and you won't even get close. There were a couple times we didn't get a single coach except Dabo. So and you know this too. If you want to get somebody, you kind of have to hustle a little bit.
Yeah,
you kind of have to do the legwork on that, which is fine. Like I enjoy being there and getting together with everybody. But just as a general rule, the main utility of that event was here's a chance for media to sit down with players, coaches from the league, and get a perspective. I think the conference itself was already signaling to everybody, we don't care that much about this event anymore for what it's for. We're going to continue to give you guys a good time. We're going to put it in Charlotte. We're going to have a nice hotel and a nice, a nice gathering, a little mingling session afterwards. And all that's nice. But it just felt like, I told Kelly Graham, like my broadcast partner, I told her last year, I said, I would not be surprised if within the next 5 years this doesn't even exist. And so I would file that a little bit under the umbrella of, universal DH in baseball or something like that, where it's something they've wanted to do, and now the coronavirus has become the perfect excuse for it. That was my initial thought. And as far as what it means, leading up to the season, I don't have any thought because they already canceled the in-person part, and I don't think it's really any sweat off anybody's back to get on a Zoom call with reporters if that's really what they wanted to do. But I kind of feel like there's a net gain and net loss of 0 with regards to how I feel about the season starting because of that.
Well, there's certainly a question about the scheduling still in the Atlantic Coast Conference. We don't know what's going to happen, and without a schedule, it's kind of tough to do these interviews. Qualk, you said it. There have been a lot of things that have been thrown around in the past that leagues are going to do because of COVID-19, simply because it feels a bit like an experimental year. There are some conversations out there about Notre Dame potentially competing as an Atlantic Coast Conference member this season. And would you be in favor of that? And would you like to see them eligible for a Atlantic Coast Conference championship game?
If they do that, I would like to see them do away with divisions. I've been a proponent of doing away with divisions anyway, and just having basically 2, maybe 3 teams you play all the time, and then shuffle the rest of them, and then just pick the top 2 teams at the end of the year. You're going to figure out who the top 2 teams are. I mean, that first year that the Big 12 did it freaked everybody out, but we really haven't had an issue with another league another time. We haven't had an issue with the Big 12 since the old Baylor TCU debacle in 2014, right? I feel like that's the best way to crown a champion anyway. I would not be in favor of adding another member, but it would make sense to bring Notre Dame in full stop. If they do it this year, this would be the goal. And this, I think, is a bit of the risk of just making them a full-fledged member now. Because maybe what if it doesn't go that great? What if they don't have a great year? What if it's not a great showing? I think the ACC's goal, and probably the long-term plan all along for at least some people involved, was to bring Notre Dame in after 2025 when the NBC contract ran out and when they would need to renegotiate. Now, that's not to say that Notre Dame might not have a presence on NBC, but would the ACC maybe have a bit of an expanded presence on NBC? Would Notre Dame, who already is on ESPN, ABC half the time anyway,
right?
Would they like a little broader exposure along those lines? Would NBC want to expand their coverage, include maybe basketball and some other things? I don't really know. That the possibilities are endless there. But I do think that feels like a long-term scenario that would benefit the ACC. And it's also an acknowledgement that Notre Dame, as an independent, has never felt in a weaker position than right now.
Right.
Even when Notre Dame was having trouble filling its schedule, which linked it up sort of most of the way, 90% of the way with the ACC to begin with, the ACC still stood to gain a significant amount from bringing Notre Dame's brand in for all the other sports, particularly on the basketball side at that time, men's and women's. Now it feels like Notre Dame is the one in the losing situation. They've got the weaker hand, and so they've got to kind of join forces with the ACC with a new network and expanding revenues if everything goes according to plan. And even if it doesn't, relative to peers, they're still in pretty strong position in terms of their broadcast rights. I think Notre Dame is the one that really is going to have to look a strong hand in the face and figure out if they want to push all in and continue to bluff like they have a strong position, or if they want to fold and pitch their tent over with the ACC. I think doing it this year the way you're describing and make them a full-fledged member this one time only, if it doesn't go well, it jeopardizes the ACC's strong position in 2025. I actually think it will be better long-term if they made Notre Dame feel like a bit of an outsider saying thank you, so that then when it comes time to pay the piper 2025, then they're like, remember that time when you didn't have a schedule till we intervened? Yeah, now you're going to play a full schedule with us, and we're going to have 15 teams, and you're going to like it.
Interesting thoughts from William Qualkenbush on Twitter at Qualt Talking. Of course, you can listen to him each and every day in the Upstate. Out of Bounds with Qualk and Kelly is this show on 105.5 The Roar. So, Qualk, from that standpoint, we know that Clemson's getting back into the workouts, etc. today. These are no longer voluntary workouts, and it's a short amount of time that these players can be involved over the next few weeks. But, you know, to kind of feel like you're headed back towards a football season, at least in Tiger Town, is where I think we are today. The COVID-19 numbers on Friday seemed pretty good considering what you've seen previously. How did that impact over the weekend, and maybe even more so today on your show, your kind of thoughts about where we are?
Well, on Friday, I did a very different show than we did today, and I'm going to continue to say that I think a lot of the reporting about coronavirus generally, and a lot of the I'll say the national reporting about coronavirus it's really suspect, because it does feel potentially agenda-driven, and it's hard not to look at a national outlet and think that there's a political motivation. I'll just say it that way. But I do think that a lot of the news over the weekend was not good with regards to coronavirus broadly across the country. And Friday, it was pretty emotional. I mean, the Big Ten had just cut off a third of their schedule basically without building it back. And what does that mean for others? I mean, does the Big Ten have an ulterior motive? I say yes. They were going to have to pay to fly Ohio State halfway across the country. Oh, look, we can't do that anymore. Oh, shucks, because of coronavirus. We don't get to pay you millions of dollars. We don't have to pay millions of dollars to fly these places. Penn State at Virginia Tech. Oh man, we can't go down to Blacksburg. Shoot. Doggone it. I mean, it felt like the Big Ten in a lot of ways was in a stronger position to cancel those games than some of the other leagues. And the Pac-12, I think, was in the next strongest position, and they went ahead and did that as well. I kind of think we have Brandon Marcello from 247 Sports on. His argument for why conference-only schedules may save college football, I thought was brilliantly put. Over the weekend, I started thinking that perhaps this would save college football because of testing protocols, because of maybe a lack of good faith that is shared across the commissioners, across the conferences. You can't really trust everybody.
Right.
And so, from Friday to today, I feel a lot better about what it means. And if we have to sort of go our own way and everybody just kind of focus on their conference and get us to a playoff with 9 or 10 games or whatever, maybe with fans, maybe not, but now it feels like we're going to have a season, whereas if we tried to, grit our teeth and bear it before, we might run into some obstacles we couldn't overcome. I'm really encouraged by that. I'm also encouraged by the team-wide or athletic department-wide testing, because let's just face it. Let's look at the data and see what happened. Clemson had what I would consider to be the best of all the scenarios in which programs were under fire with regards to racial injustice, and particularly in college football. I think Clemson handled it the best. They had the community-wide rally. It wasn't political. It wasn't particularly it was making people uncomfortable, but in that healing uncomfortability. You know what I mean? And so Clemson did the best job of that. But when you put that many people in an environment that's not really well protected in terms of social distancing and not exclusively mask wearers, the virus is going to spread, and it's going to spread on college students. But it's good that the positive tests are now down to 6 as opposed to 30, because 6 feels manageable. 30 is not good, particularly when, since that point, numbers in the state and numbers in the locality, Pickens, Oconee, Greenville, Anderson County, have gone significantly up. The positives within the team have gone significantly down, and that speaks to maybe a little bit better personal responsibility being taken by the players involved as well.
William Qualkenbush, he's on Twitter at Qualt Talk. Keep up with him over there. And again, on 105.5 The Roar in the upstate. Now, another aspect of this we brought up a few minutes ago. I don't know if you've touched on this at all either, but the effects of the latest move, or one of the latest moves by the Trump administration, which will affect the visas of international student athletes on campuses where there are no in-person classes. With football, the only player I can really think off the top of my head this might affect is Ajo, wide receiver from Canada. But if I start thinking about soccer and other sports around Clemson's campus, I mean, this could be a major issue if they don't have fall classes on campus. What's the latest on that front that you're hearing, and have you given that any thought as well?
Well, a couple things here, and I'm going to wade into politics a little bit. I love politics, by the way, but a lot of people want to keep it
I don't
separate.
really like talking about them, but in this case, you kind of have to.
Right, exactly right. Ajo and Omac, Prosper are the two guys that I initially thought of, football and men's basketball. And I honestly believe if this happens, that most universities will go, as much as they're required by law, in person. I just think universities will go ahead and do this. Now, from a political standpoint, it is absolutely asinine for the President of the United States to be actually doing this in an election year. Some people may disagree with this, I study elections quite a bit. I don't even think he wants to win at this point. That there's no political reason to be doing this. It's not a health reason because people are already here. They're already being tested. If they are in testing protocols, you're sending them back across. I mean, you're going to bring it back where you haven't been able to monitor what they've done when they've been gone in terms of testing protocols and things like that. It makes way more sense to keep everybody here. This feels like something that can be easily cleaned up, but it hasn't been cleaned up yet, and I'm not sure there's going to be. So I feel like when push comes to shove, the university will not stare at all that tuition money and stare at the potential downside of not having a bunch of athletes on campus when they try to play these games. Because like if we're going to play them, you're going to want to win, obviously, and they're gonna try to make it work and try to thread the needle a little bit. But I don't even know what the point is of enacting a rule like that when the best thing we can do is keep people here. I mean, seriously. And I said this on the show today, Swanee. There is no better place to know if you're healthy or sick. And I'm talking about for you, for your family, for the state, local government, for the federal government, whatever. There is no better place to know if you're healthy or sick than in an athletics team. In a locker room. They're being tested, they're being monitored, they're being cared for better than everybody in the country. I don't know why we would want to take people out of that situation and put them into a situation that we can monitor and control. It doesn't make any sense public health-wise, politically, or athletically. It doesn't make any sense why we want to do that.
And it obviously affects a lot of other undergraduate students too. And that's the other thing. Like I just don't see what's gained. That's what I think. I don't see what's gained by anybody by doing that. But nonetheless, it's something that, these universities may feel the pressure to, like you say, find the minimum amount of time possible to have face-to-face classes in order to keep these players eligible and legal in the United States of America. William Qualkenbush with us here for just a few more minutes on the show that shakes the Southland today. And Qualk, again, I know that we don't have all the answers, and I've joked that the questions continue to be changed as we kind of go through it. And I feel like I ask you this virtually every time you're on the show, but here we are, July 13th. Where are you in terms of the timeline that you expect to know more? And did they open up the opportunity, assuming that we go to these conference-only schedules? Is that really more so about freeing up space, on the calendar to make these crucial decisions?
Yes, I do think there was a bit of a kick the can down the road. We've hated. I mean, I truly have. I've hated how everything keeps getting pushed. Oh, it's going to be, we're going to have baseball by the 4th of July. Oh, maybe even June. Nope, it's going to be early August. I mean, we just keep pushing stuff. The dates come and go, and they fluctuate, all this stuff. To me, it gives plenty of time before anybody expects anything. Now, nobody said the season's not going to start until September 15th, but that's kind of what I feel like. When the Big Ten says we're going to nix a third or a quarter of our schedule and we're going to instead play only conference games, there's a chance that they might be postponed or canceled, whatever lingo you want to use, because of coronavirus testing. With that being said, I think you need to have some allowances on the back end of the schedule for a couple of weeks. It feels like 10 is the number. So you get a couple weeks on the front, a couple weeks on the back, then you have a conference championship game. That's going to feel a little more like a normal season than maybe we're just going to get through everything we can and it feels like you're like fingernails against the chalkboard every single week, just trying to match through, as opposed to now you get a little more flexibility to make it feel a little cleaner from the jump and then a little cleaner at the finish. And then hopefully we don't have a second wave of the coronavirus, which we don't know if we are or not. Hopefully that doesn't wreak havoc. Hopefully if there are spikes, they're in little pockets and they're temporary. And so I'm hoping for that. And I do think that what the Big Ten did, even though they were very selfish in doing it, and I think a lot of the other commissioners, athletic departments, and the conferences probably feel a little betrayed because they kind of left the table and said we're going to do our own thing. I do think it's freed everybody else up to make a self-preservation decision to try to make these things about conference play and try to control what you can control in a time when you can't control a whole lot.
Qualt, we have less than a minute. Let's be brief. Will Clemson and South Carolina play on the gridiron this year?
God, I really hope so, but I don't think so. Somebody asked me today, does Clemson have pull if they want to play it? I said, if everything was neutral, yes, they have significant pull because the head coach and the AD and the president, that combination is the strongest in the conference by leaps and bounds. But we're not on neutral because of Notre Dame. And because Notre Dame is there and because Clemson and Georgia Tech and Florida State, I believe, or one of the Louisville are all playing Notre Dame this year, I'm not sure the logistics are going to be able to be worked out to get those crossover ACC SEC rivalries together.
Qualk, be good, buddy. Always appreciate it.
Thanks, Swanee. Always good to be with you.
William Qualkenbush here on the Monday. We hit a break. We'll react next.
Here's your chance to win $1,000. Text the nationwide keyword THANKS to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's THANKS to 200-200. A grand in your hand.
That would help out a ton.
Winner.
Amazing.
After winner.
This will be very helpful.
After winner.
Definitely keep me going until I hopefully go back to work soon.
You could be next.
This helps a lot.
Your chance to win $1,000 is coming up.
Listen for your cue to text on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic. Sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive. Home of the best tire prices in Columbia. Guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
Okay, let's see what's going on traffic-wise. No. Oh, wow. No traffic accidents or tie-up. Had you on for a second, didn't I? If you do see something, call the traffic tip line 343-1055. From the 103.5 FM WVOC Traffic Center, I'm Gary Mills.
This report is sponsored by Unbound.org. Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice. Continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at Unbound.org.
Hi, this is Kelly Nash. You and I have been radio friends for a number of years, and now it's going to pay off for you with a free gift. We've got a special going on with Zero Res. They will do 3 rooms of carpet, cleaned better than you've ever had a carpet cleaned in your life. Just $119. Now that free gift I mentioned. Just say my name when you're booking and get the hallway done for free. Call 803-262-4020 or ZeroResColumbia.com. Zero Res. Spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean. Ask about their air duct cleaning special as well.
Kirk Commercial Construction is a licensed general contractor in South Carolina. Since 2011, Chris Kirk, a Columbia native with 20 years of construction experience, has believed in meeting his customers' needs. Kirk Commercial Construction is capable of performing any retail or office expansion, new construction, metal building, or commercial renovation work. In addition to Kirk's commercial construction projects, their service division can assist you with commercial and maintenance tasks. If you need it done right, call 803-250-2495 or kirkcommercialconstruction.com.
When a community grows, its hospital should grow too. And that's just what we're doing at Lexington Medical Center. We recently launched the largest hospital expansion project in South Carolina history. Our new 10-story patient tower will help us take better care of patients, including the tiniest infants who need special attention. It will also make room for the growing number of patients who need surgery and intensive care. At Lexington Medical Center, our mission to serve our community never wavers. We're here when you need us today, and we'll be there when you need us tomorrow.
At the Samuels Reynolds Law Firm, we've seen how terrible accidents turn lives upside down, and we're proud to be the lawyers our clients depend on during their toughest moments. I'm Jason Reynolds. Call me when your family is faced with any serious injury or death.
And I'm Stephen Samuels. When you're hurt at work, I go to work, getting you the medical treatment and workers' compensation you depend on. We have the experience and passion you need when you need it most.
Samuels Reynolds. True injuries, true lawyers. 779-4000.
More than 8,000 children in South Carolina need a caring adult to serve as their voice in family court. The time guardian ad litem volunteers spend investing in these children can change their lives forever. To volunteer, you must be 21 years old, able to pass a background check, and passionate about serving children. Become a guardian ad litem volunteer today and make a difference for tomorrow. For more information on how you can help, visit scgal.org. That's scgal.org.
Looking for South Carolina's favorite country? You'll find it at 97.5 WCOS.
It is the show that shakes the Southland. Lawton Swan hanging out with you. Appreciate William Qualkenbush. Man, you know what? Share this show if you're watching. I don't do this enough. I mean, I do the show enough every day, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 in the Midlands, 6 to 8 in the PD and the Low Country. There's a little spot down near Orangeburg where you could actually listen to the show twice. I was driving the other day and was listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400. And then I decided, you know what? Let me tune over to 920 AM out of Manning. And boom, there it was. Well, it wasn't there yet. It was coming because if the show's on in Columbia, it's not on yet in the PD and the Low Country. But the podcasts are available for you to download, be a part of. Come over to our website, help join us, help us grow. And I tell you, it is really my pleasure to be a part of this show with you. And I'm actually getting ready to kick up another little show that we'll be doing called the ACC Tailgate. You know, Chris Landry, who joins us here on the program on Wednesdays, he's got a little podcast network and kicking that thing off. And we're going to be doing that show talking about the ACC. And should be a lot of fun. I mean, it's definitely interesting times, and we'll do 2 shows a week. And it'll be podcast only. But I'm looking forward to expanding a little bit. You know, I used to do a show called Y'all Sports Daily many moons ago. I don't know if any of you remember that show or not, but we were on about 8 stations across the South and talked about the ACC and the SEC and really went after it and had a good time doing it. And so from that standpoint, always wanted to branch back out to a degree and talk about some other things going on. And we do cover other things here on the show other than Clemson, you know that, but that's going to be something I'm excited to get rocking and rolling with and see how it goes. Honestly, I'm busy as all get out. That's the one thing I told Chris beforehand. I said, Chris, I will do my best, but I can't guarantee you that it won't come to the point where I just don't have the time. But I'm gonna do my best with the ACC Tailgate. Speaking of news outside of college football, well, the Washington Redskins are retiring their nickname and logo. Owner Dan Snyder and head coach Ron Rivera are working on a new name and a logo design that will inspire our sponsors, fans, and community for the next 100 years. Now, people have come out with, hey, what should the nickname be? What should the name of the franchise be? I've heard people say the Washington Americans. I know I saw an article where a gentleman has scarfed up a lot of great names. Like he got the trademarks to things like the Washington Monuments. I don't think personally I'd want my mascot that stands still and does nothing. I mean, maybe there's something out there similar that just stands up, that doesn't do anything, but I don't know what that would be at this point. So I would avoid those. But, I really believe when you look at the teams around the country and mascots around the country, I don't think that it would be completely impossible. And if I were the Redskins organization at this point, I mean, I might look at it being the Nationals. And I, you used to have the St. Louis Cardinals that played football and baseball. You used to have the New York Giants that played football and baseball. And it's not unheard of to have 2 teams in the same town with a very similar mascot. Now, there's also the old Washington Senators baseball team that existed up until 1960. That would be another one that I think, given the history of the Washington Nationals, the Washington Senators, would make a lot of sense for me. My brain starts churning here, and you could text us your thoughts on it too, 803-450-0086. Maybe you go with the Washington DCs. Just call them the DCs. And then Maybe you take DC Comics and 1 week Superman's your mascot, the next week is Batman. I don't know. But, I mean, just calling them the Washington DCs is not terrible. Simple. To the point. End of story. Look, if the Philly Fanatic can be a mascot, if that what's the mascot's name? The hockey mascot, is it the Bruins? Let's see. I gotta actually have to Google it. Gritty. Who's Gritty the mascot for? Philadelphia Flyers. Yeah. I mean, he just looks like something off of Sesame Street, for crying out loud. Nothing wrong with that. Rock and roll with it. The Washington DCs, and then you have some kind of weird Muppet looking mascot. Okie dokie. I think it's possible. It's reasonable. I mean, it's better than some of the names I've heard. The DCs. The Washington DCs. Call it the end of the day. Call it, And then maybe you have two mascots. Maybe one's name is, Derek and the other one's Clyde or something. The D and the C. I don't know. Logo can just be DC. Look like Boston College's mascot looks. Simple. And then, because I heard somebody say, I think it was on the Rundown, Rob Sanders' show before ours, or maybe I read it online. Somebody said, maybe there should be a number. Like the 1776ers, sort of like Philadelphia. Kind of pick a date and run with that because it's not offensive to anybody. It shouldn't bother anybody. It shouldn't be something that would have to be changed. I would argue DC fits that perfectly. The Washington DCs. That's what I'd call them. I mean, I like the Senators. I like the Nationals. I think for continuity's sake, that would work. But definitely with the retiring of the logo and the name, I would go with a more patriotic red, white, and blue uniform too. I would shift gears significantly on that front as well. 803-450-0086. We'll come back with a little bit of Clemson through the eyes of the Tiger right here on the show that shakes the Southland.
Hey golfers, have you been to the golf capital of the world yet? Myrtle Beach Golf offers a variety of custom packages featuring nearly 80 courses. Golfers have the option to create the exact experience they're looking for. Plus, Myrtle Beach Golf provides top-notch accommodation with over 15 resorts, all guaranteed to be a hole-in-one. Come join us for a short drive away in Myrtle Beach for your best golf trip by par. Book now at myrtlebeachgolf.com.
At Stanley Martin Homes, your life is our blueprint. For over 53 years, Stanley Martin has been building homes to fit your lifestyle. Visit any of our local models for a self-guided tour or schedule a personal appointment with one of our neighborhood sales managers. Summertime is the best time for moving into your new Stanley Martin home. And now you can design your house with a click of a mouse online at stanleymartin.com. An equal housing opportunity.
Let me tell you who I trust to protect my home and my family. Modern Exterminating. Hey, it's Lawton Swan, and when you need top quality service from a team that knows what bugs you, call Modern Exterminating. 765-2315. They're locally owned and offer a full complement of pest elimination services, including complete pest control, termite plans, moisture control, and more. Check out Modern Exterminating online at pestfreesc.com or give them a call today. 765-2315. Modern Exterminating. They know what bugs you.
Clear and warm tonight with lows in the mid-70s. Tomorrow, sunny and hot, highs mid to upper 90s. For Channel 25, ABC Columbia, I'm Chief Meteorologist John Farley.
This report is sponsored by Ozzy.com.
Get smarter every day at Ozzy.com. Try a new news site that tells you about the most interesting people, places, and ideas. Discover the next Obama, or maybe the next LeBron James. Try OZY.com right now. Ozzy, it's like a latte for your mind. Get some.
iHeartRadio is the #1 choice for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one. No one makes it easier to hear everything you love in one free app.
No other app gives you the all-in-one experience like they do.
They
They did it. I have my podcast, my music. Why would I pay for multiple apps?
Are people still paying for podcasts?
It's pretty incredible. It has everything. Did I mention it's free?
If you're not one of the tens of millions who have the app, download iHeartRadio for free today and start listening.
iHeartRadio.
Not on my watch, our military service members say, as they volunteer to serve. Not on my watch, they say, as they leave their families behind to keep the rest of ours safe. As they move out, stand firm, and take fire. So not on our watch, we say, to the severely ill or injured veterans who can't get the care they deserve, the therapists they need to walk again, the treatment they need to talk again, the lifetime of day-to-day help they need to live full and independent lives. When there's no more government funding, or a nursing home seems like the only option, or everyone says there's no hope for recovery, we won't leave one warrior behind. Not on our watch. Find out how you can do your part at findwwp.org.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. But he's a part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. No time for tired. Nothing can disable this love. He needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Fox Sports Radio 1400. Serving Columbia at 1400. And the world on the iHeartRadio app.
Clemson Sports Talk on a Monday afternoon, and you know the fantastic book Clemson Through the Eyes of the Tiger, because we've played quite a bit for it for you here on the show over the past several weeks. Well, Dale Gilbert reads that book for us here, and again, John Cicetta hooking us up with this wonderful edition of stories can only be told by the men that wore the mascot's helmet in Tiger Town, and we'll run a little bit of that for you here on the program. We may do 2 segments depending on how far in we get. These are always a little bit tricky, but we do want to run that for you because we've gotten such good feedback. So many people have been like, man, these stories, it's amazing. Like, it's the little things. Maybe that says more about me. Maybe that says more about me. But a lot of people really like these stories as read by Dale Gilbert, and I believe this is going to come across okay. We'll see what it sounds like as we roll along here on a Monday afternoon.
Here is Clemson Through the Eyes of the Tiger as seen during the 1990s. Our first mascot in the 90s was Will Sykes. Will was the #1 Tiger during the 1990 through 92 academic years. Will earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Mechanical Engineering in 1992. His hometown, Greenville, South Carolina. Here is his story. The 1990 appearance at the East Region of the NCAA basketball tournament stands as the top of my experiences in the suit. The tournament kept me from having spring break in Florida. Instead, I was on a plane headed to Hartford, Connecticut, along with the ACC regular season champion Clemson Tigers to face the Brigham Young University Cougars. Back then, only the Tiger went to the postseason games. There was no pep band or cheerleaders because, being known as a football school, most students always had plans to head south for spring break. It was just me and several hundred Clemson fans in the 20,000-seat arena. Almost. The athletic department hired the Central Connecticut State University pep band for $2,000. Everyone in the band got an orange Clemson shirt and face paint. It was a wise financial decision that the department made for several years until the NCAA appropriated enough money for the institutions to take a mascot, 12 cheerleaders, dancers, and 30 band members to each round of the tournament. Final score that day was number 17 Clemson 49 and so bad. 2 days later, during the second round, the Tigers played the LaSalle Explorers from Philadelphia, a member of the Atlantic 10 Conference. LaSalle had previously won the NCAA basketball championship way back in 1954. They used to play their home games in the Palestra with Pennsylvania, St. Joseph's, Temple, and Villanova. After trailing by 19, the Tigers came back to beat the Explorers. The Clemson Lady Tigers once played UConn in the Elite Eight of the NCAA tournament in the Palestra. Final score, number 17 Clemson 79, number 12 LaSalle 75. 2 games, 2 wins, and now on to the Sweet 16 to play the Connecticut Huskies. It's the back end of spring break. I'm thinking at this point, who needs Florida when the winner of this game plays Duke or UCLA in the Elite Eight? The next game was in East Rutherford, New Jersey, at the Brendan Byrne Arena. The arena is named after the 47th governor of New Jersey, who had a daughter graduate from Clemson. The partisan crowd that filled the arena that night was pulling against us. Everyone wanted UConn to play Duke or UCLA. The Clemson Pep Band was in attendance the second weekend, holding up a sign to the CBS cameras that stated they were the real Clemson Band. The overall experience now in our third game was pure joy. However, everything would change in the blink of an eye at the end of the third-round game against UConn. The Huskies' Tate George killed our massive 19-point comeback and stole the game-winning shot status from David Young, my Greenville High School teammate, who had just made a three-pointer to take the lead with 1.6 seconds to play. It went from the highest Clemson basketball moment I had ever experienced to the lowest in just under 2 seconds. 2 days later, Christian Laettner hit a turnaround jump shot to send Duke, whom we had beaten 2 weeks earlier at Clemson, to the Final Four. I still don't see how Laettner's shot is better than Tate George's on the run over the extended arms of Sean Tyson that sent the Tigers home. Final score, number 3 UConn 71, number 17 Clemson 70. It's the toughest environment for any mascot to make it through for several reasons. It's the first game of the year, kickoff is at the traditional 1 o'clock start, and it's 90 degrees. There's no way you can prepare for the first game, unless you get in the suit and do push-ups on the ground several weeks prior to the game. I started the day off with the pregame parade, followed by 4 quarters of a football game, and after 303 push-ups, I was totally exhausted. I lost between 10 and 12 pounds that day, and I got ridiculed because of my lousy push-ups late in the game. If you sat in the stands throughout the entire game, you might be able to visualize what it was like to be in that suit doing all those push-ups. The end result was a Clemson win. However, there would be some sad news concerning the 49ers program 3 months later. Their 72-year-old head coach, George Allen, would pass away on New Year's Eve. Yes, George Allen, the NFL Hall of Fame coach who led the Washington Redskins to the 1972 NFC Championship. After one more season, Long Beach State would stop funding their football program. Final score that day, number 10 Clemson 59, Long Beach State nothing.
There you go. Another chance to take a little spin around Clemson through the eyes of the Tiger. So many great memories from so many unique individuals who spent time looking through those eyes and spent time up in Tiger Town doing some really not just unique things, but getting a different perspective on the outcomes of those games that you all and I all love. We'll try to pick that up when we get back here on the show that shakes the Southland as we put a bow on a busy Monday afternoon here. 803-450-0086. That is your phone line and your text line. We finish the show next.
Lawton Swan here, and I know in sports we're always talking about the big guy. Well, let me tell you, when you're buying a car, you don't need that. What you need to do is head down to Orangeburg to my good friends at Ferry Chevrolet Cadillac. 4 generations of family-owned business right there at Ferry Chevrolet. No dock fees, no tricks, straightforward pricing in a low-pressure environment you'll love. Check them out online, ferrychevrolet.com, or call them 803-536-1600. It's Ferry Chevrolet Cadillac, just a short 30-minute drive off of exit 145A in Orangeburg.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson. Attention all women who have been diagnosed with ovarian cancer. Johnson & Johnson's baby powder and shower-to-shower talcum products have been linked to ovarian cancer. In February and May 2016, Johnson & Johnson was ordered to pay $72 million and $55 million by two juries to two women who contracted ovarian cancer after years of using talcum baby powder products. If you or a family member has been diagnosed with ovarian cancer and used talcum powder prior to the diagnosis, call Talcum Powder Help Now today at 800-833-0112. You may be entitled to substantial compensation. The consultation is free and you'll pay nothing unless there is a recovery in your favor. Don't fight this alone. If you or a loved one used talcum baby powder-based products before being diagnosed or died from ovarian cancer, call Talcum Powder Help Now at 800-833-0112. 800-833-0112. 800-833-0112.
Paid for by Bar Justice.
Hey guys, Lawton Swan here. I was hanging out in the backyard with my son Mason a couple of years ago, and he said, "Dad, you're the best father ever." When I asked him why, he said, "Because when I go outside to play, I don't get eaten up by the bugs anymore." Imagine that, me a hero, when all I did was call my good buddy Trey Powell at Mosquito Joe. With their routine service plan, no more bugs and no more bites. Make yourself the family hero. Call Mosquito Joe today, 803-223-7916. That's 803-223-7916. Outside is fun again.
At AAA Heating and Air, get an instant manufacturer's rebate of $1,500 plus 0% financing for qualified applicants and a 15-year parts and labor warranty. Call 677-1500 today.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members, of their families or their children, asking them to deploy, patrol, stay on watch, on point, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to bring them all the way home, to keep them secure, to have their backs for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs do whatever it takes to help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life.
It's always good to wear
So
a
that they
tuxedo
might
to
stand
homecoming.
At ease. Find out how you can help at findwwp.org.
Whoa, long time no see. It's me, the Rock t-shirt in the back of your closet. Dude, remember? You crowd surfed in me, man. But you haven't worn me in like forever. I get it, you're retired, but I still got some rock left in me. So take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff. Create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Fox Sports Radio 1400. Online at foxsportsradio1400.com. On your phone with the iHeartRadio app. And on hundreds of devices like Alexa, Google Home, Xbox, and Sonos. An iHeart radio station.
What have you done for me lately? It's a fair question. Just don't lose sight of the bigger picture. Don't forget history. Lucky for us at Clemson, the answer to the questions, what have you done for me lately, and what have you done always, are the same. We win.
Final segment on a Monday afternoon, Clemson Sports Talk, your website, clemsonsportstalk.com. Come join us. Just $1 to kick off your premium membership. $63.17 for a year. That's like, what, 17 cents a day? 18 cents a day. Not bad at all. Would love to have you come over there and check things out. And again, we got these Clemson Sports Talk pins. They are beautiful. We've got a lot of people asking about those. We're going to do some more giveaways. Got some giveaways to do tonight, as a matter of fact. We were listening to Clemson Through the Eyes of the Tiger, and I realized as it was playing, you might have noticed I had a little reservation or hesitation, whatever you want to call it, going in. I thought that the audio might sound funny, and it did. It was a little slow, a little slower than normal. So I adjusted it during the break. So this should pick up the pace a little bit from Dale Gilbert. I think I slowed it down on accident. That's why I was a little uncertain the last break, but we'll play just a little bit more of that here, and then we'll get you out of here with a little update from the NBA. So here's a few more minutes of Dale Gilbert reading Clemson Through the Eyes of the Tiger.
It's always good to wear a tuxedo to homecoming. At halftime, I got to ride on the SAE float with the 1990 Queen in court. Our queen was Stephanie Bowie, a varsity cheerleader from Easley. I guess I was Stephanie's knight in an orange furry suit instead of shining armor. However, this knight lost his queen to a king named Todd, who became Stephanie's husband in 1992. Final score, number 19, Clemson 26, Duke 7. The Tigers were invited to play Duke in the Tokyo Dome the next year. The game was called the Coca-Cola Classic. It was the first time the Tigers had played in Tokyo since 1982, when they defeated Wake Forest 21-17. That game was called the Mirage Bowl. The week in Tokyo had seen numerous joint appearances with the Clemson and Duke players, the cheerleaders, and band. In the second half of the game, the Duke band called me over for a photo, so I obliged. As I was walking back onto the field, the suit felt odd till I figured out someone from the Duke band had cut my tail off. I was embarrassed. Without the tail, I failed to do my last set of push-ups, costing me a record for the most push-ups at an overseas game. The new record would have been 101. The Tigers won the game and the ACC championship, which meant a trip to the Citrus Bowl in Orlando, Florida, to play the University of California. The sign I was holding up proclaiming Clemson's championship got in the newspaper the next day and then on the wall at Mack's Drive-In, the famous restaurant between Clemson and Pendleton. Final score, number 13, Clemson 31, Duke 21. Operation Desert Storm was the name given to the first Gulf War on January 16, 1991. That evening, the basketball Tigers defeated Western Carolina 103-82. 3 days later, we were hosting Temple when those in attendance were given patriotic ribbons as they entered Littlejohn Coliseum. The Rally Cats, cheerleaders, and the Tiger wore a T-shirt that said, "Till they come home, wear a ribbon." It was also the day that Go, the mascot of the NBA Phoenix Suns, was in town to entertain the crowd. During the game, Go, a gorilla, was handed an American flag after he had jumped up on the basketball rim, bringing the crowd to their feet in honor of the brave men and women in our armed forces who were entering the field of battle. Two of the most famous residences in Clemson in the 1980s were the home of the president of Clemson University and Coach Danny Ford's home. Other than players or coaches, I doubt if many people had ever been invited to Coach Ford's house. The house, part of his contract, was given to him to live in by the athletic department for winning the 1981 national championship. A trivia question that legendary sports information director Tim Beret could not answer if asked would be, who lived in Coach Ford's house after his coaching tenure at Clemson? The answer? My roommate Will McCauley and me, until the house was sold. How fitting for a mascot. It has a giant tiger paw on the bottom of the backyard pool.
So there you go. Quick look at Clemson Through the Eyes of the Tiger. And thinking about those games played in Japan back in the early 80s, one against Wake Forest, one against Duke, the Coca-Cola Classic and the Mirage Bowl. Just so incredible to think about those games. And I don't know, Tim Beret comes on Thursdays. I don't know if I've talked to him about those. I don't think we have. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put that down because I want to know a little bit more about those two ball games specifically and the number of fans that went. And if you're a fan that went to that game and you remember it, either of those games, text us your story, 803-450-0086. You can email us, Lawton, Lawton, at ClemsonSportsTalk.com. Again, the NBA trying to get things underway. But the Rockets' Russell Westbrook has tested positive for coronavirus, so he'll be quarantined. He didn't make the trip as they departed for Disney World. He's back home getting set to hopefully be better for the NBA season that we are kind of hoping will come to fruition at some point, like we are a lot of things still. Nonetheless, lots of fun today. If you missed any of it, it's about to run again in Florence and Manning, unless you're in Florence and Manning, and then that's it. You can catch the podcast. But the show that shakes the Southland, again, is available on ClemsonSportsTalk.com. And I appreciate each and every one of you being a part of this show on a regular basis. Again, on Twitter at Clemson Sports. And you can feel free to text us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Thank you to everybody watching on Facebook. I know we got a lot of drop frames for some reason. I don't know what's going on with that right now. A little bit frustrating. But I guess it is what it is here today on the show that shakes the Southland. Again, thank you to Roddy Jones. Thank you to William Qualkenbush. Those two guys knocked it out of the park. And we look forward to chatting with you again in 22 hours. Until then, your website, ClemsonSportsTalk.com. As always, y'all take care now. And go Tigers!
Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan on Columbia's home for sports. Fox Sports Radio 1400. Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
We are wrapping up the evening commute with an accident, Garnis Ferry Road and McCord's Ferry Road. From the 103.5 FM WVOC Traffic Center, I'm Gary Mills.
This report is sponsored by Ozzy.com.
Get smarter every day at Ozzy.com. Try a new news site that tells you about the most interesting people, places, and ideas. Discover the next Obama, or maybe the next LeBron James. Try OZY.com right now. Ozzy, it's like a latte for your mind. Get some.
The Red Cross responds to nearly 66,000 disasters every year, most of them house fires. Red Cross President and CEO Gail McGovern says you need to develop an evacuation plan and practice it, especially with your children. It takes just 2 minutes for a home to be engulfed in flames.
Practice those drills. We all think our kids know what to do. They don't. We need to teach them. We have started a large campaign where we're going into vulnerable communities and helping install smoke alarms. Already 92 lives were saved, and 4 of those lives were saved by a 5-year-old girl who remembered what we taught them during these fire drills, and she got her family out. We also have a slew of free apps that people can download onto their smartphones. It's what to do in every kind of disaster you can imagine, how to prepare and how to recover.
To help support all the Red Cross does and to make a financial donation, go to redcross.org. That's redcross.org.
You wanted to see me?
Yes, please, have a seat. So here's the thing. When this company brought you on, we took a chance on you. You didn't have that 4-year college degree we typically look for.
Right.
But we gave you a shot anyway. And since then, you've worked incredibly hard and given it your all.
Thanks.
You've been an important asset to the team.